Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Weekend Waypoints. Joe Healy here with Mark Etheridge. We are going to recap Game 1 of the CWS Finals, take a look at Game 2 of the CWS Finals, which takes place this afternoon, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern start. So make sure you're aware of that it's an earlier game start today, even though it's a one-game day. So there's that. Before we get to anything else, have to let you know this edition and every Sunday edition of Weekend Waypoints is brought to you by Active Wealth Management. As always, our call to action, visit activewealth.com, click schedule a consultation. You get a free 401k review, which is a $1,500 value at no cost to you. Ford Stokes and Sam Davis are my guys over there at Active Wealth Management. Also involved in the media there. If you're in Atlanta or the Huntsville, Alabama area, they're on TV there on the weekends, radio show on the weekends. All kinds of stuff out there from the guys at Active Wealth Management. Once again, visit activewealth.com. All right, Mark, Tennessee 9, or I'm sorry, Texas A&M 9, Tennessee 5. That was actually just me doing an impression of the press box PA guy who accidentally yesterday said that Tennessee leads the series 1-0. So no, that was just made a mistake. Although that did happen. There were a couple snafus yesterday, not least of which, Mark, by the way, was for those who don't know, there is like an in press box PA. So like if it's a close play, like is that a hit? Is that an error? Like the scorekeeper will come over the PA and say hit or error or explain like a ruling if it wasn't clear, that kind of stuff. But sometimes they could pipe in other stuff. And so what they do is they pipe in the game mics. So like if you're watching on TV, you know how you can hear like if someone slides into a base, you can hear the rocks like, rustling underneath anyway, for some reason during the national anthem, which was great, by the way, it was sung by a local guy who's like just this fabulous like operatic tenor. He's always like a favorite of everybody doing the national anthem. And they did a flyover. And for some reason, the radio broadcast of the game was being piped in. It was a mistake. They don't normally do that. Somebody hit a wrong button or something. So the radio broadcast is being piped in through the press box PA during the national anthem. And like as the flyover is happening, they're playing a Burger King commercial, which I just thought was like
of all the things, right?
It's poetic. Yeah. Yeah, according to that radio commercial, our national anthem was that jingle that Burger King's using right now, which is like BK, have it your way. Yeah, so that was our national anthem last night. So look, there were multiple snafus.
Memorable, right?
Yeah, exactly. A real goosebumps moment, a flyover during a Burger King commercial, Anyway, Texas A&M 9, Tennessee 5. Mark, what thoughts were you left with at the end of last night's game?
Josh Stewart. I mean, we expected Ryan Prager to pitch well. He did his job. We expected Evan Ashenbach to pitch well. Boy, he was really good. But where I felt A&M was vulnerable was if Prager didn't get to Ashenbach, right? And they didn't. And I really expected Tennessee to kind of have their way with the other guys, right? Other than those two, and if Cortez pitched, right? So that was really the question for me. And boy, did he step up! He got the job done. And as a result, A&M's sitting pretty right now. I mean, this is the game we talked about this yesterday. They needed to win with Prager on the mound. I mean, I haven't seen who they're going to throw today. I don't know yet, but they're going to be at a disadvantage, most likely pitching against Drew Beam. Just with how many effective big game starts he's had to draw from. So that was very important for A&M's chances, right? I felt like yesterday was kind of a must win for them. And they hit the ball well. I mean, they kind of pushed Causey around a little bit. He really wasn't that, as good as he's been down the stretch for Tennessee. So it was very impressive. It was about as good as A&M could hope for, on this stage against this team.
Yeah, it was the thought for me was that this was the game A&M had to have. I mean, I don't think we're necessarily. I don't think it's a hot take to say if A&M hadn't won the Prager start, the chances of winning the whole thing get really remote.
Yeah.
And so they had to have it. They got it. If you want to nitpick, I think there was a scenario where Oschenbeck didn't have to come into the game last night,
Yeah.
but ultimately Tennessee did enough to lure him into the game. Now, the good news is if you're A&M, his pitch count was relatively decent. He didn't get extended to 65 or something. So
Mhm.
he's almost certainly down for today, but he's probably up on Monday.
Mhm.
So you feel pretty good about being able to go back to him. So, but yeah, it just went because of being able to bridge that gap as you bring up, like A&M was able to pull through there. I think one of the other things, and somebody mentioned it, Ace Man here on YouTube mentions that Caden Kenneth hitting 480 in postseason play after
Yeah.
taking Braden Montgomery's spot. And then Aaron Russell comes back with that entire portion of the lineup is banging, and I agree. Like the bottom of their lineup has. I mean, look, nobody's going to replace Braden Montgomery 1-for-1, but
Mhm.
the bottom half of the lineup has done a really nice job of mitigating those injuries. And not just the Braden Montgomery injury, but the limiting injuries to Schott and Laviolette.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, if not for Caden Kent, like A&M is probably not playing in these games right now.
Right.
And with the way he swung the bat, I mean, it's just so huge.
Yeah, it's what all coaches tend to say when a star player goes down. You don't have one guy doesn't have to come in and do what he did. We need everybody to step forward, and we all, take pieces of that production. And that's sure what it looks like, isn't it? I mean, Caden Kent's. I mean, he's been incredible, but he's had help. It's not like, hey, you got to go be Braden. He might, he's certainly done his part, but I mean, that lineup it's every bit as good as Tennessee's right now, and we're going to see how that continues, over the next day or two. But it's it's kind of one of those things where you want to be playing your best at this time of year, and it certainly looks like A&M is.
Yeah, I even at the bottom of the lineup, even a guy like Travis Chestnut, who is not going to replace anybody from a power perspective, but he
Hmm.
gives a different element because there's not a lot of Laviolette can run, but he wasn't doing a lot of stealing bases this year because
Hmm.
and he's also not doing a lot of bunting because he's not up there to bunt. But
No.
Tennessee's infield defense showed yesterday that like you can speed them up. I mean, they kicked the ball around a little bit in the first 5 innings of that game. And Chestnut's a guy who can lay a bunt down. He's a guy who can steal bases. He can make things happen. So I also think there's just an element at the bottom of the order that A&M has that I think is particularly effective against Tennessee. And
Yeah.
that brings me to like the point I was going to make about Tennessee, which is that yeah, you have Beam on the mound, and that you feel as good about him as anybody on the Tennessee pitching staff in terms of like we know he's not going to go out there and freak out, right? But if they don't defend better, it may not matter how well Drew Beam pitches because I mean 3 errors in the first 5 innings.
Yeah.
Two of them were part of run scoring rallies, and the third came in an inning where it got extended so much that Tennessee had to go to the bullpen twice in the inning. So they were just critical errors. And
Yeah.
if you do that again in an elimination game where it's just human nature, you're going to feel pressure if you get down in this game. No matter how much they say no, we don't feel it, or no, we're not worried about it. That's gonna be a pressurized environment. So that piece is going to be important for Tennessee. You have to
Yeah.
make plays.
And I think those kinds of things snowball too, right? You make the first one, you're a lot more prone to make the second one and the third one. And, and the pitcher makes a walk or he makes a bad 0-2 pitch or whatever. All those kind of self-imposed mistakes. And, where the opponent has got something to do with it, but really you should make the play. And that's where I think, Tennessee is right now. They're kind of kicking it around, feeling it a little bit. And that only has the tendency to exacerbate as the pressure mounts. And hey, your season's over if you lose. It's no more pressure. No, you can't be under any more pressure than that. Okay, so uh, it's it's definitely one of the storylines to watch in today's game is, can Tennessee clean some things up defensively with making the pitches in the right, in the right. You're not giving a 0-2 meatball. Um, those kinds of things, and just keeping the ball in the yard too. I mean, blowing out, I kind of expected there would be. I mean, this might be a home run fest yesterday, and there were some, but certainly wasn't anything abnormal, especially with these two teams. So that'll be interesting to see for both clubs. Can they keep the ball in the park from a pitching standpoint? So a fascinating storyline to see where this lands. And so who would you throw if you're A&M? Would you go to Cortez as a starter, or would you go to like Jones as an opener and then piece it together? Or where's your head at?
Yeah, I'm probably pitching off with a starter, understanding that Cortez is going to be in the game sooner rather than later, regardless. Lampkin is an option, but I would prefer, now that you've got the first game, I would prefer to give him another day of rest, rather than rushing him back. Because if you rush him back now and it doesn't go well, now you're kind of really in trouble for game 3. And I get that coaches think differently than you and I. Like, you and I can sit here and talk about it in a casual way and try to look at it from all angles, but coaches are looking at it as like, we got to get this game today. What do we got to do to win this game? So, would it shock me if Lampkin's out there? No. And last night in the press conference, Jim Schlossnagle was like, yeah, we got to figure out what we're going to do. So clearly they're mulling a lot of different options. But I think we're going to see some guys today that haven't pitched in a while, haven't pitched effectively in a while, whatever it is. Like, today's going to have to be the day. If A&M wins this, today's going to have to be a day where some pitcher that we're not necessarily thinking about much comes it through in the clutch. I think that's just the reality.
Yeah. Carves a legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if you get the chance, I mean, you're never going to have to buy a meal in College Station again. So
that's true.
This is your moment. Seize it.
That's right. That's the Dixie chicken will be free for life.
Heroes welcome every time you walk in.
Yeah. A couple of thoughts here. Like, Ace Man on YouTube says Zane Bodmaev and Tanner Jones. Like, honestly, I would expect to see both if that's the approach they take. Ray on YouTube says you only pitch Cortez if you get a few run lead and hold on to it in later innings. I mean, that is also the other strategy, which is just like, let's save all of our bullets for Monday and like see if we can just like pull one out of our rear end today. That to me, I don't know, Mark. Like, what do you think about that? Because that to me is signaling too much of like, hey, we're just totally punting this game. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that.
Well, I mean, Tanner Jones was a weekend starter for most of the year. I mean, he started a regional game. I don't think you're not really punting if you send him out there. Yeah. But I do think you go through that and, you get to the 4th inning and you're in it. It's a close game. Maybe one run in either direction, then maybe you then decide, let's go all in on Cortez and maybe Aschenbach can give you an inning at the end if it's needed, right, to try to win the whole thing. That's probably what I would do. I would, I'd throw him out there. Let's go 4. Maybe there's somebody else you want to use to bridge, so Cortez can get you a little deeper. And then if it doesn't go well, you don't use Cortez, or you only use him, for an inning or something, right? Otherwise, you load up for tomorrow. But I do think there's a moving plan based on how the game goes. Because I mean, we've all seen it. Tennessee could come out and rock, no matter who the starter is. They could rock you for 6 in the first, and then that all your plans are, could be changed. So.
Yeah, there's been a lot of
kind of where my head is.
There's been a lot, and totally deservedly, a ton of praise this week for Max Weiner and what he's done with the A&M pitching staff in terms of development. Well, I mean, he's gonna earn his keep today in terms of roster management,
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's a lot of different possibilities here in terms of, okay, things are going well. Let's go to our best arms. And then, okay, now we're up by a lot. Let's pull the string on them a little bit, or the opposite, which is like, hey, we're down. Let's not burn one of our best arms here. Oh no, wait, now we're in the game. Let's get one of them out there. Like there's just,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a cat and mouse there that he's going to have to manage today. So that'll be interesting to see. We've some of the Aggies in our chat here have mentioned, Caden Wilson, Weston Moss, two options there. I mean, Brad Rudis threw 2 pitches last night. That's a guy we'll probably see too. So they've got folks. None of you'd prefer to have more proven. Options. Right. You prefer to have Shane Sadeo available. Right. Yes, that is absolutely true. But it's not like they're totally out of guys. So, anything else in this game, Mark, before we send the people on their way for this Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I think it's Drew Beam. I think he's the story from the Tennessee side. Can he handcuff this A&M lineup? Because as we talked about, A&M is playing at a really high level, and Beam has had some ups and downs. For such a consistent guy, that there has been some moments of unevenness, we'll call it, and it'll be fascinating to see in his final start wearing that uniform what he's able to summon, right? Because I kind of expect him to come out and deal, but it's a really good lineup. So that from the other side of things, you have the A&M. What are they going to do on the mound? Well, Tennessee, okay, this is our guy. He's got the ball, and I'll see what he can do.
Yeah, Drew Beam, Nate Snead. I imagine those are going absolutely according to plan would be Drew Beam hands the ball off to Nate Snead and Tennessee wins. Like that is their blueprint they're looking for today. So should be a lot of fun. Again, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to Game 2 of the Men's College World Series. A quick note: this is Mark. This is the last Weekend Waypoints episode of the season.
Wow! Well, it's been a rousing success, dude. I mean, congrats. It's been you kind of had this whim of let's try this, and I didn't know if anyone would ever show up or listen to it or watch it or like it or throw tomatoes at you or whatever. But it seems like we're going to have a version 2 of this in next spring. So
yeah, sure seems like it. Yeah, I thought it'd be me and 6 folks every week. Which I'd have been willing to do. Because it's honestly it's great prep for me every morning. To kind of like get caught up on where everything's at, but. So thanks to everyone who made it possible. Thanks to everybody who commented along the way, but whether it was one time or every single time, there were a lot of you folks who were in here a lot, which I appreciate. So thanks for making it what it was. Because without the live comments and going through all that, it just wouldn't have been the same. So that was a cool thing that I didn't necessarily anticipate being as big a part of this as it was, but I'm thankful that it turned out to be that. So thank you to everyone who's been along for the ride. Thanks, Mark, for joining me this weekend to kind of wrap up the season and get everybody ready for the national championship. So as far as Weekend Waypoints goes, I will talk to you opening day, I guess, of the 2025 season. Mark and I, of course, with Highway to Hoover after the series is over. Highway to Hoover will continue into the off season, so you've not rid yourself of us just yet. So don't worry, we'll be back. But Weekend Waypoints is wrapping for the season. So thank you to everyone who was along for the ride. Visit activewealthmanagement.com, click schedule consultation, get that $1,500 value in a free 401k review. And we will talk to you on Highway to Hoover later this week. Thanks, everybody.